The University of Texas Health Professions Office presents Connecting with Faculty. The College of Natural Sciences has a huge student body, so the thought of reaching out personally to faculty members can seem difficult and intimidating. Think your professor's out to get you? Trust us, that's not the case. Making an effort to get to know your professor is usually an important precursor for success in the class and can help you to obtain letters of recommendation for professional school later on. Here is some guidance on how to make these lasting connections and how to ask for letters of recommendation when the time comes. Making a good impression on a faculty member all begins with introducing yourself. If you're in a more crowded setting, tell them your name, smile, and give a firm handshake. If you have more time to chat, you can get more personal. You can discuss your major and why you chose it, your career pursuits, or what you'd like to do in your spare time. You can also ask some questions about their class, if they participate in research, or their career path. Remember to be genuine. Don't ask questions just to ask. Authentic interest goes a long way. A great time to get to know your faculty member is at office hours. Professors, lecturers, TAs, and lab instructors all generally hold regular office hours for students to attend. We asked Dr. Iverson, when should students attend office hours? First week, period, end of story, and have a conversation the first week. Be interested in the subject matter. Student-faculty interactions can go one of two directions. 1. What's going to be on the test? 2. Can you please explain this? I don't understand it. Number 1 gets a little old. One of the first things I would write on a rec letter if someone is in my office hours is how the student begins to connect the golden rule to what's on the test. It makes the conversation valuable. Look at the subject matter from class, find the thing that's interesting to you, and ask about it and dive into it and get more in depth into that material. That's the way to have a great conversation. Then it can't be about what's on the test, it's truly about the material. We know that many students often attend office hours, making it difficult to connect with the faculty member one-on-one. Let's hear Dr. Iverson's advice on how to best utilize office hours. If you're the one asking the questions in those lecture office hours, I will get to know you that way. The first week of the semester, the office hours are smaller. I can get to know you that way. It really does come down to that first week. When people walk in and they're serious about the class, those people always do well in the class. It's also important to take into account what you should do before going to office hours. According to Dr. Lottie, you should always be prepared when going to see your instructor. In the context of being able to do well academically, then you should go to office hours when you know it will help you do better in the course. There is no point in going in and talking about a subject you have no interest in. The requirement is that you do prepare yourself for an office hour. Students will walk in and sit down and I will ask, any questions? If they don't have a question at that point, why are they there? That is one point of view. You should go to office hours because it is useful. Having said that, you should never not take advantage of office hours. How often do you have the opportunity to sit with someone who can be enormously beneficial to you? Whether it is to help you do better in a class, to find a mentor, or have them write you a letter of recommendation. There are students who have asked me to write a letter because they went to office hours, were prepared, and now can ask for a letter. You should always go to office hours if you decide you want to develop a relationship with faculty. Intimidated about going to office hours? Here's some advice from Dr. Grabner. Don't be. Just come get to know me. Lots of opportunities. If students feel uncomfortable with that, there's always the undergraduate TAs, the graduate TAs, and PLUS. In addition to building a good first impression and getting to know your professors through office hours, it's also important to know what not to do. Don't ask what's going to be on the test. Don't text. Don't watch YouTube videos. Don't send emails. Try to keep focused in class, whether it's asking questions, or the time that you're spending, or just anything, really. Focus is so important. Don't chew gum. Don't put your feet up on the couch. Students who attempt to enter into that profession need to begin to adopt a code of conduct and behaviors of that profession while they are in training. They are in training while they are pre-pharmacy or pre-medical students. You have to behave in some way, the same way you would expect appropriate dress during an interview. There are a lot of ways to maintain professional behaviors on several levels. After you've finished taking a professor's course, it's important to keep in touch with your professors. After you're done with the class, check in with the professor once or twice a semester. Send an email and ask if you can drop by their office when they're free. Keep them updated on how you're doing, what you're involved in, and ask about them. This way, when you ask for a letter, they have heard from you consistently since you took their class. According to Dr. Grabner, email is good or stopping by my office hours, even if you just want to say hi and say how things are going. That's always nice. Just remind me of your name. Faces I'm good with, names not so much. Here are a few more tips from past students for staying in touch with professors after you've completed their course. Send thank you emails to your professors at the end of their course. Send thank you notes when student government puts on Faculty Appreciation Week. Nominate your instructors for teaching awards. If they get one, you can email them to congratulate them. This kickstarts a good conversation. Alright, how do I get a good letter of recommendation? In order to get a quality letter from a faculty member, there are a few steps you should follow. Let's hear from our professors as they discuss the importance of keeping in touch and what documents to provide if a student desires a letter of recommendation. When you approach someone, you should always have written your personal statement. Bring a resume with a picture with their personal statement and interfolio all in one place. Paperclip it, don't give me a folder. What am I going to do with 30 folders? I demand the personal statement. That way, I'm complimenting the personal statement instead of writing a cheap imitation of the personal statement. Best thing is to get to know me ahead of time. Usually an email first is nice. I usually won't agree to it until the last few weeks of classes just to check the standing of the student so I know where they're at. Then I can schedule a meeting to talk to them about their goals and motivations. I usually prefer them to bring a resume or CV that describes volunteering, shadowing, work, etc., and also a personal statement. Both of these things help make the recommendation letter more personal. The most important thing to ask is, what do you need to write me a letter of recommendation? Most people will have very different ways to manage that letter of recommendation. Most students will send an email asking for a letter. Faculty will need, at the very least, a full resume, personal statements if they are already written, and any other supplemental material with accomplishments that have not been stated in the resume or the personal statement. Be prepared electronically to provide as much material as possible. After you've asked for your letter, you can update instructors on your progress if you have more information for them to consult while writing your letter, for example, when spring grades are released. You can also send polite reminders as the deadline for the letter approaches. Dr. Iverson has some advice to add on this. Be polite and persistent. It is pretty much on my own time, so deadlines can slip, all my great intentions aside. Stuff happens. So don't be afraid to be persistent and ask, how's the letter coming? If you appreciate the fact that this is not part of a professor's job description, realize we do need reminding because it can slip. If you can do that in a polite way, I am personally impressed. Many students wonder, do I need to have made an A in the course to ask for a letter of recommendation? Different professors have different opinions on this, but the best thing you can do is to put forth your maximum effort in the class and try to get to know your professor's personal style. According to Dr. Lottie, I will write a letter for anyone who asks, but all professors are different. You have to have a sense that they will write the letter because they value something about you. I have written letters for students who have gotten C's in my class because I have valued them enormously. You have to be confident that when you ask for a letter, that they will say something good about you. I've had students who got C's in my class, but who sat in my class every day and worked very hard. Dr. Lottie says that any student of his can ask for a letter, but his point that all professors are different still stands. According to Dr. Iverson, only ask for recommendation letters if you have gotten a very good grade in the class. From my point of view, for large classes, I will be writing many letters. If I'm writing 10 letters for students who got A's and 1 letter for a student who got a B, you will naturally be ranking them. Don't worry about what looks good. What looks good is if the professor can say that you are at the top of the class. The difficult conversations are where people come in and say, I didn't go to office hours, but I still need a rec letter, and I just think that's really weird. Don't expect to walk in cold turkey 2 years later and ask for a recommendation letter. Professors have some last tips and advice for students. Keep up. Digest daily. Make an appointment with yourself, maybe for an hour or so, to do biochemistry daily, whether it be homework or review. Practice. The more practice, the better. The more of your faculties that you can use in your studying, the better. A good note to keep in mind: if you can't teach someone the content, you don't understand it well enough. For the freshmen, please be yourself for the next 3 years. Do what makes sense for you. Do what you're passionate about. If in doing so you find out that you weren't meant to be a doctor, better to find out now than later. If you find out that you were meant to be a doctor, then everything else will come seamlessly. If you're pre-med for the wrong reasons, you need to listen to that voice in your head that says, "Don't do this profession," or else you will regret your career decisions. Still confused about where to start? Don't worry, making connections with your faculty members can be challenging for anyone. Here are some specific tips from peer mentors on how to get to know your faculty. Get involved. If you're an officer in a student org or have a position like a plus preceptorship in a class, that's an extra avenue to getting regular contact with faculty members. Dedicate hard work in your class and go above and beyond what is required. Ask that extra question about the material, even if it's not going to be on the test, and go that extra mile on your project or assignment. Standing out in a crowd of students academically and intellectually will grab your professor's attention and highlight your great qualities. Take interest in the professor. It's not all about you. A dialogue is a great way to establish rapport and make a real impression. If the professor is doing research, ask about it. If the professor teaches other courses, look into them. You can even ask about their career path and if they have any specific advice for you on yours. Be flexible. If you're trying to get to know your faculty member one way and it's not working, try something different. Be polite and persistent, and it will say a lot about you. Want more advice on connecting with faculty or requesting letters of recommendation? Visit the Health Professions office. Make an appointment to see a coach or drop by to see a peer mentor. Thanks for watching!